everybody? Hope everybody is fine. I cannot see you or hear you, but we can chat. If you've got a question or something, I can read your messages, all right? Welcome to this presentation of On the Pulse second edition. I am Alejandra Otolina, and I'm going to be with Mariela Burani. Mariela is going to talk about the digital component. Hello, Analia. Good afternoon. I'm going to talk about the product in itself, the series in itself, and Maria is going to talk about the digital components. Hello from Uruguay, welcome. I've got another Uruguayan person here in the audience, Juan. Good afternoon from Mendoza. Okay, welcome everybody. It's nice to get in touch with you all. I miss my trips to different parts, visiting and meeting new teachers. All right, so again, on the Pulse second edition, we are talking about a series for the secondary school. Secondary school with a question mark. Why? Because it is for lower secondary and it may eventually be lowered down into the end of the primary school. You will see that because of the images, because of the content, you may use it in 5th or 6th or 7th if you have it. On the Pulse has got 4 levels, but it's got 2 beginners in a way, a starter level to start from scratch and a level 1 that is more to revise, but knowing that your children remember something from what they have seen. Because it usually happens that when you start teaching in secondary school at secondary level, we get the feeling that we get students from different primary schools, and some know a little bit, others don't know anything, others recognize a little bit but cannot produce anything. So very often teachers ask us to include a starter. This is where you've got starter 1, 2, and 3. It is for 3-4 hours of English a week, okay? Now, at this level, in this segment, thinking about very young teenagers, thinking about 2, 3, 4 hours of English a week. Hello from Salta, Montevideo, Entre Rios, Rosario. Very good. Welcome, everybody. Nice to see you all there. My question to you, what do you need? What do you expect to find in a book, in a good book, a book that you really like? I want to read your messages. Come on, what do you expect to find? Okay, hello, Mar del Plata, San Lorenzo, Bariloche, Calafate. Wow, go, Cafayate, sorry, Cafayate. Okay, very good, Analia. Attractive readings. Good. What else? Fine. What else? A lot of reading. Yes, good. Engaging activities, engaging reading, listenings, variety of content, especially content-based texts. Good. Okay. So you know what? At Macmillan, we do care. We do pay attention to what you tell us. This is the second edition of a very successful series that was on the Pulse. Before having this new edition, we contacted teachers from all over the country, and we asked them what they needed, what they wanted, what they didn't like, what their students enjoyed. And based on their comments, based on their likes and dislikes and on their preferences, well, this is what we have produced. On the Pulse, second edition is not the same as the other one, as the previous On the Pulse. On the Pulse, normally when you have a second edition, the second edition has got like 30% that is different, 40% that is different. Here, you've got much more that is different. On the Pulse second edition guarantees. Hello from Neuquén. Yes, real life content, readers, projects, good. It's got a lot of texts of different types, texts in different formats, texts taken from different sources. It has a lot of practice because these students don't usually study, so they need constant practice and revision. But that practice has to be simple, straightforward, because we know that in this type of school, the classes are heterogeneous. We know that you need simple strategies because we don't have time to plan for 2 days to go and teach 20 minutes, okay? So everything has to be straightforward. We need a very clear methodology that every teacher, because the truth is that our country is really vast, and very often the training that teachers get depends on the place where the teacher comes from or the place where the teacher studies. And we study, we practice, we learn using different methodologies in different parts of the country. So this should have a methodology that any teacher in any part of the country can use easily. And the methodology is clear, straightforward, and teacher friendly. We know that, especially in this new context, nobody knows what is going to happen. We know that we are beginning. In some places, we don't even know how, but we are going to try and begin. But there will be a digital component in our teaching. There will be some kind of virtual teaching because maybe we start and we have to stop. Maybe we start, but we start with 1 or 2 hours, and maybe there is one virtual hour. In Cordoba, for example, we know that English, mathematics, and language are considered essential. So they are going to be face-to-face lessons, but not the others. So all this depends on each province, or in the case of Uruguay, on each country. But in all cases, we will need digital material. And even if we go directly face to face, the digital component is here. And it is here to stay because even us teachers, and I know that the younger generation is much more digital than me, but even us, we have learned to enjoy digital materials. We have tried teaching virtually, and we have discovered that we can and that we enjoy doing it. So this is here to stay. Then, because of the reality, because of the number of students, because probably even in the same school, yes, medium, now digital material is essential. I completely agree. And then we need to be free to choose. This is something else that changed because when we began with this pandemic, we tried to use whatever we could get hold of. The people who were more technological used what they were good at. Now that we have tried new things, now that we have learned new things, now we can choose what we like, what we find more productive, what we feel is more suitable for our reality. Good. Yes, it's here to stay. But what I was telling you is that because of this heterogeneity, and because sometimes in many schools we have students who also go to private lessons, we need a lot of extras. Extras to cater for fast finishers, extras to cater for children who have got some kind of problems, extras. And extras because we like choosing. Because the series has got a format, the series has got a structure, but we are all different and we also want our personal touch. Then of course, we need within this clear methodology, we want, because we are very traditional in some respect, although we very often say that we are highly communicative, we want clear grammar and vocabulary presentations. That is very important because these children who don't study, they do need to communicate eventually. When we are in the primary school, we know they have a long time to improve their English. Now, they are in the secondary school, the time they have is shorter, and we know that very soon they will be leaving school out into the world, and they will need to use the English they have learned. So all the grammar and vocabulary is fine, and it has to be clear and very well presented and very effectively practiced, but at the same time, we need skills. And when I say skills, I mean the linguistic skills, reading, writing, speaking, but at the same time, the other more practical skills, call them 21st century skills, life skills, or whatever you want to call them. They are the practical aspects of the functionality of the language. That is, using the language in real life situations to try and solve problems using the language, to try and make a presentation using the language, to try and interact naturally, maybe with mistakes, but using the language naturally. Also, as part of the national curriculum, we need projects, and not because of the natural curriculum, because if the book doesn't have a project, you may add it. That's easy. But if you have a very well developed and a very well developed original project, that project is going to be a trigger for further motivation. It's going to be a trigger for great production. It's going to be a trigger for personalization. So projects are important. All this with realistic aims, because we are not bilingual school teachers. We are talking about 3 hours of English a week. So that has to be down to earth. Everything has to be realistic, and also tests, because it's time consuming. I mean, it's very not difficult, but it demands a lot of time to sit down, think of a text and create a test and think of the exercises. And if you have set one and set two, because you don't want your students to cheat, well, all this has been taken good care of. So let's go on. Okay, now I was telling you that this new edition has got a few differences. When your students buy the book, they will not be getting just a student's book. They will be getting the student's book with the workbook that is full color because it's inside, it's part of the same student's book, and also a skills builder. If any of you has already used the old edition, well, the skills builder used to come in a booklet separated from the rest. Now it's part of the same student's book. And also the code to access all the digital material. So you've got 4 things in one book. Considering the price, it's absolutely great. Now, you've got the book, workbook in color, and the skills builder that is at the end upside down. This is why you've got the photo there, so that the student can find it easily. The skills builder has also been changed. The texts are new, the activities are new. There is a change, or there are some changes in the design of the book to make it look fresher, more modern. There are new texts. There is a lot of more practice. And in the past, there used to be few projects. Now you've got 1 project per unit. And there used to be a section called Pulse Magazine and another one called Creative Corner that has been left out of the book but has gone into the digital part. Okay. And also this new version has got activities based on YouTube videos, because again, that is here to stay. All this in one book. So now that you more or less know about the changes and you know how we plan to work on this and what the book may look like, you are imagining it, I'm going to show you a unit. Okay? Okay, here we are. This is taken from level 1. It's not starter, it's level 1. Okay? So this is for students who already know something. And this is unit 6. They are theme-oriented, topic-based units, right? In this case, we are talking about experiences. And you have visually, of course, you cannot read everything. That's not the idea. Then you can Google, or you can get in contact with your local rep and we can send you samples. But the first page in every unit, in all levels, is the vocabulary presentation. The vocabulary, in all cases, is presented, excuse me, in a context. There is always a context. Words are never presented in isolation. There is a context that you can read and a context that you can see. Okay? And the context, the visual context, may be a postcard, maybe a photograph, maybe part of a brochure, maybe a website, whatever. The new words, and not only words, but also collocations and expressions, are in color. So those little blue letters that you can see, those are the new words. Now, of course, the idea is that you teach, that you make sure that your students understand. And at this stage, you can go to the workbook and practice the vocabulary, written activities, simple activities, traditional PPP, or first make them engage in very short oral activities. All the activities that you see in the book follow a principle that has to do with this question of heterogeneity. We know that you will have students who are inattentive. We know that you may have someone who is texting somebody else who is not likely to focus. Maybe somebody is not interested in this topic in particular. So for all this, we need short activities so that we can keep a good tempo, a good pace in our lessons. So there is variety. You can visually identify very short activities with and without pictures, oral, individual, pair work, okay? So all this all the time. And then if you want written activities, you go to the workbook, to the skills builder, also the digital component. So now, let's look at this small sign there or notice there, learning to learn. The idea is because it is a secondary school, they don't have what we call strategies. And it's good that students should realize sometime how they learn better. We have the tendency as teachers to teach the way we were taught. We have the tendency to go back to the way we taught, even when at the profesorado we were taught to teach in a new, modern, or more communicative way. But we have a tendency to go back. And the students also deserve the opportunity, the chance to discover how they learn better with charts, from pictures, through oral work, working or learning from a peer. Let them discover. And this learning to learn has to do with that, with metacognitive activities, reflecting on the way you learn the language. Now, this vocabulary here has to be used. We have to show the students how they can use all these words, all these expressions. And so it's going to be used in a text, different texts. The idea, the principle behind the reading texts is this. Maybe your students don't know where Barcelona is. Maybe they are not interested or they don't know anything about that football club. But if I say football club, it doesn't matter where you live. There will be some kind of club, bigger, smaller. So there is always a connection. You can always Google for information. You can always watch a video. You can always make them associate. This happens in Spain. Well, what happens in Uruguay? What happens in Argentina? What happens in Salta? What happens in Rosario? Or what happens in a very small village? All the time narrowing it down to their own reality. But what is good is because there are two ways of showing this question of involving everybody, being realistic, personalizing information, and making sure that the book represents the child, represents their needs and their reality. I can write a book about, I was born in Lanús, a small place in Buenos Aires, so I can write a book using English in Lanús, but that's not realistic at all. That is not realistic at all, and then it's not appropriate at all. What I can do is write a book mentioning things for them to learn a little bit of culture, which very often they lack. And then, yes, I take it down, I bring it down to their own reality. Okay, what happens in Lanús? Have you got a bigger club, a smaller club? Do they play football? Do they play any other sport? Are you interested in any other sport? What about the junior players? Do they live in the club, outside the club? Whatever you want. They can do many things. But all the readings are like this. They are informative. They are realistic. And the child or the student is always invited to bring it down to their own reality. And if you look, you will visually realize that there is a text that you know where it has been taken from. It looks like a newspaper or a magazine. And then the activities are short activities so that they don't get bored, so that everybody can participate, and the activities are doable. Another pillar in this series is that it avoids frustration. We want our 30 students to be able to participate. If the text is complicated and on top of that I add long and difficult questions and nobody can answer them, only the ones that have a private teacher, then the learning process stops and frustration emerges. We don't want that. On the contrary, we want the activities to be doable because it will help your management of the lesson. So now, yes, here we are. Okay, we have just read a text, and the text does two things. It brings the vocabulary I have taught and uses it, and the text anticipates the grammar that I am going to teach, because that text includes some new grammar. Now, the questions and the activities about the text don't make the student use that grammar because the students don't know it yet. So the questions are simple and are based on the grammar and the vocabulary they already know. So the following lesson, the following day I meet my students, I recapitulate the text, I make them read, I make them questions, I ask them what they remember, I show them a photograph, I recapitulate, and from there, I take examples. Those examples are here on the grammar page, presented in two columns, use and form. The use column tells me or gives me examples, the examples from the text. How, in this case, the past simple of the verb to be, how it is used. And they have to discover the form, the other column. They have to discover, they have to become aware of the fact that we use he, she, it with was, together with I, was, and all the others were. And here you have interrogative, negative, blah, blah, blah. In a chart, using a color code, clear, very visually presented. And then the activities, again, you see they are very short. And another important box that says comparing languages, especially to make them reflect on the interrogative form, the negative form, because, for example, in Spanish, in the interrogative form, we only play with intonation. Fuiste al cine. Fuiste al cine. The sentence is the same. A lot of attitude is reflected through intonation in Spanish, and that is not the case in English, okay? So we have to make students aware of that, because if not, they will say, you were at home yesterday, and they do this with the head. Very often, you were at home, and they are asking. So to make them aware of this, we focus on comparing languages. So we have the vocabulary, we have a story or a text. From the text, we take the grammar, and now here we go, it's loading. There are two grammar presentations and two vocabulary presentations in each unit. We're not going to see everything because if not, this is going to take too long. But yes, I told you at the beginning that apart from grammar and vocabulary sections, we need all the other skills. Skills that represent all the grammar and vocabulary put together into bigger chunks, into bigger pieces of language, let's say. So on the one hand, you've got this section about skills, okay, where you see functional aspects of the language. For example, asking for directions. And something that sounds very simple, all these functions and functionality of the language. We take it for granted that it goes hand in hand with the grammar and vocabulary, but it doesn't. And when we have exams, when we have, for example, international exams, and they have to do a pair work activity, and they have to ask something very simple, like, how long does it take you to get there? Or how can I get to the museum? They know, can I? But the expression, how can I get there, doesn't come out. Doesn't come out. And very often the instructions are, ask for directions. And the student says, I want to ask for directions. Why? Because they haven't got the functionality of the language. There is a gap between grammar and vocabulary and using the language naturally. That part, using the language naturally, is here in the skills section, especially in this case, reading a map and interpreting and giving directions, and in the speaking section. This is why it doesn't matter if you have 20 or 30 students. It doesn't matter if your class is more or less heterogeneous. It doesn't matter if you like it or not so much. Please make sure you do the speaking section, because it's there where you've got these expressions, where you've got these natural use of the language. And the speaking section, together with the writing section, these are the two skills, the two productive skills of the language. These are the two skills where we really know if the students have learned or not. These two skills show us how much they can produce. We can assess their performance here. One thing is to say, yes, I do. And quite another is to speak naturally or write naturally at your level. This is level one. But to get there, when you think about 3 hours a week, when you think about a heterogeneous group, when you think about a teacher who hasn't got time to plan, when you think about all these parameters, then what you need is something that is clear, straightforward, something that everybody can do, and something that has a model to follow. I cannot tell my students, okay, write about, ay, no se me ocurre nada. That is what they are likely to say, and it's natural. So you always need a model. You always need something to imitate. And then, yes, some will be more creative, others will only try to imitate and change a few words, but at least they will remember some phrases. So both the speaking and the writing section are modeled. It means that the students are then supposed to have a dialogue, act out a dialogue, imitating what they watch in the video, or they are supposed to write an essay or a narrative or whatever, imitating the text they have there. In between, from the model to their production task, in between, there is um, an activity that calls their attention, an activity that shows what they have to focus on, an activity that tells them, well, pay attention to this. If you're going to write, you will need and but and so. Remember not to repeat and 100 times. So there is a model, there is a guide, and then there is a production activity. Everything is guided. You've got everything you need. Then we know they don't study, and very often we need marks, we need tests, and you have all the tests. But apart from that, to make sure that they revise, to make sure that they become aware if they have learned or if they need to study a bit more or they need to practice a bit more, you've got a progress check. The progress check may be done in class, it may be done oral, it may be done as homework, it may be graded or not. It depends on you, but if you need it, it's there. In Argentina, we've got the makeup tests for students who need a push before they are allowed to pass, to be promoted. So some teachers leave this aside for the end of the year when the student does this to make up for everything they have not done. And after the progress check, we mentioned projects. And now in this new edition, there is a project per unit. But these are not the silly, meaningless projects that sometimes we see in books. These projects are really original. They are related to what they have seen in the unit, of course, but they've got some characteristics that are interesting. First of all, they are flexible. So if the student has got internet connection, they can investigate. If they don't, it doesn't matter. If they want to work digitally, they may. If not, it doesn't matter. If they want to work individually, they may. If not, it doesn't matter. There is choice all the time. So it's very flexible. That's one thing. Another thing that is interesting is the way the project is tackled. In this section, we are talking about experiences, and in this unit, they mentioned houses. So here, the project is they have to make a presentation. In the story, they learned about a couple who decided to have to transform like a caravan into a very small, a tiny house, and use that tiny house on wheels to travel around the world. So now the students have to create or choose from the internet their own tiny house. Okay, they create it or they take a photo from the internet. But then they have to make a plan, drawing. And you say, drawing, well, they may do it for homework. Students don't like doing grammar for homework. But when it comes to doing things that are creative, they do like them. So they have to draw the plan. And normally, what we do when you have a plan is, okay, describe the house. There is a living room. In the living room, that would be the normal thing, which you can do orally. You may ask them to write, but that is boring. And you will be all the time saying there is, there are, there is, there are, there is, there are. You know what they have to do? They have to describe the house, but also they have to take down notes using the past of how they felt, what they liked, where they got the ideas from, using past. You see, they use there is and there are. They use vocabulary about the house, but at the same time, they integrate it naturally with the simple past and in a personal way, how I felt when I created my house, why I chose this one and not another one, personalization. And then at the end, they have to share that. They have to make a presentation. The presentation may be a digital presentation, depending on your resources, or a sheet of paper, or construction paper, or whatever you want, maybe a model of the house. But you see that the project is integrating all the language, integrating a personal aspect. It gets the students involved. And there is the other skill that is presenting, feeling proud of what you have made and using the language to talk about it. So it's really engaging and it becomes really meaningful. A secret. Nobody should hear this. Pay attention to this part because you will have important pieces of news about the projects here. If you are interested in competing, if you are interested in becoming a famous teacher, remember, keep in touch. We will have surprises. I cannot tell you anything else. Okay. Now, something else. I told you at the beginning that the book is full color. These are examples. In the workbook, you've got color, a lot of activities of all types, longer, shorter, more productive, less productive, divided very clear, vocabulary, grammar, skills, more reading. You've got absolutely everything you need. And one very interesting characteristic, it's a step that we are taking at Macmillan is, and it's the consequence of listening to our teachers. The fact that we are having many cases of students at all levels with specific learning difficulties or with special needs. We have children who find it very hard to read, children that have been diagnosed with dyslexia, children who are inattentive, children who are medicated, uh, a wide variety. And it's not easy. It's not easy to teach English. We don't have any training for that. So we start with trial and error. But in the meantime, the year goes by and we are beginning to discover what to do. So at Macmillan, because we do believe in helping teachers and in helping teachers develop, we have a Zen project. The Zen project, Special Educational Needs Project, has got different sections. If you visit our website, you will have different booklets in English and in Spanish with information about all these special needs. The booklets are written by experts, okay? You have ADD, dyslexia, there's one about a Down child, very interesting material. Then we have developed in this series a Zen booklet. What is that? Okay, it will be available for teachers and students to download. And it will have two different things. On the one hand, the teacher's book is going to have pieces of advice, very concrete pieces of advice, considering special cases like how to deal with with a text for reading comprehension when you have a dyslexic child, or why is it that children get inattentive, and how can I teach vocabulary when I have inattentive learners. There is one piece of advice per lesson in every unit for every level. And also, these children need things that are very specific because, for example, dyslexic children find it very, very hard to read. And so we have developed accommodations. Accommodations are these methodological accommodations, all right? We have adapted 2 activities per unit. You can download them and get photocopies. And what have we done? For example, reading texts have been simplified, or another reading text has been segmented into pieces, and all the reading comprehension activities have been changed in terms of order. So you have the first paragraph and the questions that correspond to the first paragraph, the second paragraph and the questions that correspond to the second paragraph. All that in a bigger font and using a font that children with difficulties can read. Also, the reading texts will be available in Word, in basic Word, because I don't know if you have heard of Escuelas Or. It's a very prestigious school in Buenos Aires. And the secondary school students there, a group of secondary school students, as part of a school project, have developed an app. The app is called Lecto. I'm writing it in the chat box, Lecto with a big O. And you can Google Lecto app. It's free. You can download it from Apple Store or Google Play. And the idea is this: when you run your mouse over a word text, the app transforms it into a text using a special font for dyslexic people. The the letter, the font is very special. It's bigger and it's more rounded and it's clearer for dyslexic, often not very clear for others. This is why this app is excellent if you have children that are dyslexic or with some kind of reading difficulty. Okay. Hello Tucumán. Hello Salta. Welcome. So this Lecto app has got 2 other functions. You know that children or students, because you are or you are not dyslexic, it's not that you are for some time. You are and will be forever, or you are not and you will never be. So if you are dyslexic, or children or students who are dyslexic very often confuse some specific letters that have a similar shape, like P and D, for example, or B and D. So if that is your case, you can program the app to, when you read it, to see that those letters in a special color. So that's another function, to color some specific letters that each student may have problems with. And the other function is that it transforms certain words in a sort of picture dictionary. I mean, you can run your mouse over the word and the image appears also. That's very interesting. That's very useful if you have children with difficulties. So a lot of readings, a lot of practice, a lot of texts that will engage all your students, very effective and clear and contextualized grammar and vocabulary presentations, fantastic digital material that Mariela will talk about now, a teacher's book that is very complete, and all the Zen project ready for you to use with your students. So, thank you very much on my part. And now Maria will talk about the digital components of this series, right? Welcome, Maria.
Hello, thanks, Ale. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you for being here. Okay, so as many of you said, and Alejandra said, now the digital component is here to stay, is essential. Somebody mentioned, yes, the material is essential. And what do we mean by that? What we mean by digital components or contents? Well, I can tell you that maybe it's a variety of resources, both for the teachers and for students to use in and out of the classroom, also content that is engaging and user friendly. So I'm going to give you, uh-oh. Sorry, I'm here again. I'm awfully sorry. Can you hear me now? I had a problem with the connection. Can you hear me now? Can you see me? Okay, I panicked, to be honest. I think it's a problem when I use this Click Meeting platform, yes? Because today I used GoToMeeting, Google Meet, Zoom, all the different platforms, and I didn't have any problem. So well, by now you should be you should understand me, yes? Because thank you, Gisela. So I don't know where I left, but I was telling you that these components are essential now. They are here to stay. Thank you, Carolina. Yes, you know, we panic when that happens. Now internet connection is everything. Um, all right. So I'm going to give you a short tour of all the digital components that we have to offer with On the Pulse second edition. Yes. On the one hand, we have digital resources for teachers. And we have a presentation tool, that is to say the ebook, with all the multimedia embedded, audios and videos, so you don't need to open another file to use the audios or the videos. Everything is embedded in this presentation tool. You're also going to have a unit opener. This is not in the students' book, and students don't have them either. But it's a way of warming up, of triggering the unit. So there can be images or a question or a matching activities, a variety of unit openers, yes, to elicit previous knowledge as a warm up. You will have that in the presentation tool. Also, you're going to find the interactive progress check activities, the Pulse magazines with video search activities. Alejandra mentioned that, this question of digital literacy, digital competence that we need to develop in our students, and also the Teachers Resource Center, that then I will tell you what you are going to find there. Okay. In the Teachers Resource Center, you are going to have the teacher's book that you can download, downloadable audios and videos, of course, as well, extra practice worksheets, a variety of communicative activities, extra activities, the special education needs booklet that Alejandra mentioned, these accommodations that you can use in your classroom, for students, the ESI booklet, yes, that is up to you if you want to start incorporating that or the school into your teaching. A test activity bank that is going to be also in the format of words, of word format, so you can edit and I mean use in the classroom, and I can't remember the word, that you can adapt. That was the word, adapt. A Pulse magazine worksheet, the Creative Corner worksheets, and also project and exit tickets templates. Yes, this is what you're going to find in the Teachers Resource Center. Okay, now I'm going to show you what the presentation tool is. Yes, this is just a sample page. As you can see, you have the full view of the book, different tools that you can use. So you don't need to have an interactive whiteboard. That is included in the presentation tool. It's an application that you download onto your computer or at school. You can also use it offline. Yes. Here you have the menu with the different contents. Yes. And you can navigate to the Teachers Resource Center, the test generator. It's another tool for you to create your own tests. Classes, you can create a class. You can push homework to your students' mobile phones when they download a special app. And you can also follow and track the progress of your students. I'm going to show you another. Yes, this is the kind of activities that you are going to find. The listening, yes, you just click there and you have the listening and the script that you can choose to hide or not. This is very useful. Some students need to see the script. This is the activities. Yes, you zoom in the activities and you use it from the presentation tool. Here you have the tools that I told you about. You can write on the presentation, on the page. Yes, you can also mark, highlight, write notes. So you can use it as a board. Yes, also as a board for your classes. This is the digital resources for students. Yes, students need to download the Students Education app. They can download it onto any device, yes, computers, also their mobile phones, and students are going to find the ebook with audios and videos embedded, so they can listen to the audios when they are at home or on the go. Yes, now this is the idea that they go for a walk and they can listen to the audios. They are going to have on-the-go practice with grammar and vocabulary interactive activities. So as you can see, there's a lot of practice for your students in different formats, different ways that they can do them. The Pulse magazines with video search activities, and also a Students Resource Center. Yes, they will have activities such as this. Yes, to practice vocabulary or grammar, interactive activities for students as well. Yes, in a kind of game-like activities. Yes, they can challenge themselves. Yes, I think this is ideal because they can do these kind of activities on their mobile phones. And we for the little ones, we say they think they are playing, we know they are learning, but we can also say this for teenagers. Yes, they challenge, yes, themselves to different activities. I'm going to show you some examples. Yes, for example, here they have to choose the caption for the correct the correct caption for the picture, or maybe here you have to match the description to the image. A variety of activities. Yes. Listen and choose the phrase. As you can see, they are going to be practicing vocabulary, grammar, listening. Yes, it's more exposure to the language. This is choose the correct option, for example. So they all have different types of activities. So it's not boring for them. It's engaging. Yes, here they are practicing pronunciations. These are just some of the examples of the type of activities they are going to find. Yes. And in the digital resources, that is to say material that they can download, they can find the interactive progress, the Pulse magazine worksheets, the Creative Corner worksheets. So you don't need to make copies for them. The students are going to have these onto their to download in their applications, and also the project and exit ticket templates. So this is, as I told you, a tour, just a quick tour of all the interactive and all the digital content for students and teachers that you are going to find on the PAL second edition. I don't know if you have any question. Where do we get the app? Okay, when you can download it on the Teachers Resource Center. Yes, when you adopt the material, we give you a code to activate, and then you can download from there the app. Yes, or you can also look it in Play Store. Yes, yes. It's free. I mean, this comes with a student's book. Yes, they don't need to buy any other extra extra code or anything. When students get the book, when they buy the book, they are going to find this access code. And when you adopt the material, we are going to give you an access code again to use the presentation tool and everything. Yes, so it's not that they need to buy another component. Yes, it is included in the student's book.
Mhm. Veronica is asking if the Zen booklet has photocopyable material. Yes, Veronica. Yes, 2 per unit, and also the tests will be adapted. Mhm. And the progress checks, all the progress checks are adapted. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome. So we are rounding up, and let's do something. We've got permission to have some raffles, all right? So here you've got all our emails. You can, anyway, you can use social networks and get in touch with us. Will all levels be available? Yes, yes, okay. So we are going to raffle some interesting materials, and you will get the materials at home. So I'm going to make questions, and the first one to answer is going to get the prize. Okay, so I will ask the person who gets the prize, the winner, to type please in the chat box the email address so that we can get in touch with him or her and see where we send the material. The material will be, first of all, probably a copy of one of the levels of the new edition. Okay, good. Any questions you have, if you want to adopt the material, if you would like to receive an inspection copy, you get in touch with us either through or via social networks, our emails, or you get in touch with your local rep. Okay? Send us an email to Revise Navio. Okay, good, right. Anyway, well, you've got a video that is interesting in our website, so you can Google that as well. Okay, people. So here comes the first question. Ready, steady, go. Who can tell us at least 2 digital resources that we have in On the Pulse second edition? 2 digital resources. It's easy. Come on, type them.
Let's see if you were paying attention. Okay,
Noelia says
Noelia,
Pulse
great.
magazine and ebook. Okay. Is it okay, Marie?
Yes, it is great. Very
Right.
good.
So the winner is Noelia, right? And Ted. And okay, good. So Noelia, can I ask you to now please type your email address so I can take a photo? Because this platform doesn't record the chats, apparently. So if you can type your email address, Noelia, please. She's typing, okay. Good.
Don't worry,
Thank
Ale.
you very
I'm
much.
writing. I'm writing it. I'm copying the
Okay,
email.
good,
You
good.
can go on
Second
with the
question.
raffle.
Second question. There will be 3 raffles, okay? Second question. How is the grammar presented? In what way is the grammar presented? Let's see. Functionally, in context, the 2 are okay, but something is missing. Think about the page. I insisted on something as regards the page. Into columns. Yes, good. Gisela, very good. Into columns. Do you remember she said the 2 columns? Use and form. Okay. So I would say both of you, Gisela and Silvana, both of you. Very good. Can I ask you to please type your email addresses? Gisela and Silvana, 2 columns, one for use and the other one for form. Excellent. Because it's not just a question of form. Thank you, Gisela. And one more question. One more question. Last question. Tell us two characteristics of the projects in On the Pulse second edition. Something more specific than flexible, something more specific than realistic, doable and realistic. They can choose. That is the answer. They have a lot of chances to choose, and this is why they are really personalized. Maria Paula, you are the winner. Can I ask you to please type your email address? Great. Thank you very much. So, I'm sure Maria will agree with me. We have had a really good time. I hope you have had a good time, a profitable time as well. I hope you adopt On the Pulse. I hope you feel that it helps you teach English in a purposeful way, in a meaningful way. Any doubt, any question, anything you want to share with colleagues, you may get in touch with us. Thank you very much. Hope to see you soon. On Saturday, we've got another presentation for primary courses, okay? So you may join us as well. Thank you. Thank you, Felicitas. Thank you so much. Welcome. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Marie. I'll
Thanks
be
a
seeing
lot.
you tomorrow. Thank you.
Bye
Bye. Thank
bye.
you, everybody. Thank you.